Welcome to Alpha Wolf's Den. It's here that we seek enlightenment. Alpha Wolf Trading recognizes that the most successful companies in the world at one point had no earnings. There's a lot more to a company than just its earnings report. That's why here at Alpha Wolf's Den, we interview executive teams. We want to get to know management. We want to understand the vision, the mission, the strategic drivers, the plan. We want to separate fact from fluff. This is not a paid for promotion interview. This is solely wanting to know the company's vision, mission, their critical success factors, their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, and the threats. We want to know the long-term objective and the tactical initiatives that leadership plans to implement to achieve success. We want to know about the company's debt, the cap structure, what it's going to take for them to become self-sustaining and stop burning through cash. We want to know management's previous failures, challenges, hurdles, how they overcame them, or what they learned that they can apply in their current role. We're trying to identify the risk and the reward. And oftentimes, it's strong leadership that makes the difference between success and failure. Here at Alpha Wolf Trading, we are looking for the hidden gems. And I hope you enjoy this interview because this is one of those companies that I think could be a hidden gem. Please understand that this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with another CEO interview. And this is a special one for me because I am a dog lover, animal lover, and anytime I come across a product that I think is gonna make the quality of life better for an animal, it gets me very excited. And I actually, how did I come? I came across, John, your interview, and I can't remember who it was with, but I was like, I watched the interview and I was like, man, I was kind of intimately about joint pain for dogs, right? Hind legs. And I mean, I had an issue with my boy, and I saw the thing and I was like, holy crap. I mean, if this does what John says it does, I got to dig into this deeper, right? The name of the company is PetVivo. And John, is it Lai or Lai?
John Lai.
John Lai.
Yep.
John Lai is the CEO, founder, very interesting guy. We've actually been talking for about like 45 minutes before we actually even started doing this interview, because he is also a capital markets guy. He's very, very knowledgeable in the capital markets, which is another thing that actually makes me even more excited about this particular story, because I know that John's not going to do anything stupid because he knows how Wall Street works. So, John, thank you so much for coming in to do this interview.
Tim, thank you for having me. It was a very interesting and good conversation we had for the last 45 minutes about the world's problems and how to fix it.
But I wish somebody would listen to us, because I don't think that, we just don't have that kind of juice. But
Correct.
I am so happy that I learned this about you. Really, I mean, it was just it was kind of a fluke thing. I heard another interview that you did, and it was like they were asking you about what you felt about the markets, and I was like, well, that's a weird thing. Why are they asking a PetVivo guy about the markets?
I'm a regular on another radio show called Capitalism Tonight that goes into like 15 states, and they keep calling me because it's crisis. So they call, hey, what's going on? Our listeners need to know because they're nervous about the market. And I said, well, I hate to be a bearer of bad news. We're going lower. And they goes, well, you're depressing people, but at least you've been pretty good on your calls.
No, this is fantastic. So let's give everybody a little bit of a background of John on how you got here, and then why PetVivo, and how did this all happen?
Sure. So my background, I started off a Wall Street type guy in OTC marketing, corporate finance. After a while, I started to realize I had a niche for identifying companies that had a uniqueness that could be defended against somebody with big money, and they tend to have a likelihood of good success. And I said, hold it, the firm's making 95% of the money. And on the good deals I bring, because I looked at their portfolio deals, the deals that were working were the ones that I was involved with in one way or another. So I said, I'm going off on my own. So I went off on my own in 91 and just started funding companies myself. And I had a group of clients from the old days that followed me. And they said, well, we like your investment philosophy. So my biggest philosophy is I keep focus on companies with niches that can be defended against somebody with a lot of money. And fortunately, I was involved in some very good game-changing technologies. And sometimes I was early. Like I was involved with Stratasys, rapid prototyping. In the early 90s, we were making parts out of wood. Now you can do a layer monofilament and you would have a part in hours instead of months. And then Digital River downloading a software. 3% of the people are on DSL, so everybody trying to download software, they boot them off after 20 minutes and you get super frustrated. So I was early, but they were the right things and they became very successful. And some of them just blew up, like Gas Card. It was the first gas pump card you can pay with a credit card. Way too early. They didn't have the infrastructure, so these ended up buying the technology. But I learned over the years, I'd like to identify companies that have that uniqueness. So PetVivo, we acquired all the technology, patents and everything from a company called Geldo. And we actually acquired the company. So they were funded by NIH and DOD, about almost $8 million worth. So the scientists loved it and the investors, and it did not, because it was a private company and they just kept getting money for research. And if you look at the product pipeline, it is pretty amazing what we have and the data that we have on the human side. So the legal counsel, Ferris and Byron, which is a very large firm out of Minnesota, the partner called me up and says, hey, you know how to commercialize stuff. When you look at this, I go, wow, impressive data, but I don't have $300 million to try to educate doctors on that they should change the way they treat, even though this is a better technology, because that's what it usually takes, 3 to 5 years on the minimum, and about 300 million to re-educate doctors' pattern of how they treat diseases. So I came back and said, I'll do it if I can take it to the animal side. And the scientist said, no, I'll tell you what, I'll just give you a license. You can take it to the animal health space. So I formed PetVivo Inc. And that's where purely sales, marketing, and distribution. Well, 90 days later, I had a really good investment banking firm that understood biotech, wanted to take me on NASDAQ, gave me 100 million valuation, and they asked me how much money I needed. I said, I only need 10 million. They looked at me funny, and I said, if you look at the certifications and stuff they have from the human side, I don't have to do any R&D on the animal side. So they says, this money is just purely for sales and marketing then. I go, absolutely. And building, they have the infrastructure to make the product. So I'm licensing, I'm buying product from, all we're doing is sales and marketing. So you're okay. In 3 days, I had over 40 million committed for into the deal when we did a non-deal roadshow. So we were ready to file our S1, and lo and behold, the scientist goes, how in the world did you do that to get that kind of valuation? I said, well, there's a difference here. I'm a known commodity on kind of Wall Street that I know how to make a business and move product forward. You're very well known for R&D money. And just keep researching. And he looked at me and got really pissed, but that was reality. And so he goes, I got 110 pissed off shareholders. So why don't you just take us over? And I said, oh, the simple thing is let us go public and then we'll take over. He goes, no, let's do it now. And I said, well, it's a much better story that I own all the patents. I'm not paying royalties and I'm owning future product pipeline, So I said, fine, we'll do it now. He goes, well, the only way I'll do it is if you're in a public company. So that means I got to find a shell to merge into. So I did a triangular merger, but the good thing is I didn't use a shell. I used an existing company that had medical device operations in it, so I actually could use their tax losses. We merged in and they merged out as a private entity, and it was on the QB. So we traded very well on the QB. It got a little ridiculous. I think we hit 450 million market cap, because when we first hit the story out there, the people that owned the previous company were telling all their friends, and they started just plowing into the stock. Okay, so interesting story. We were ready to file the S1, but then their auditor lost their public PCBOD, whatever that thing is for SEC certification. So that means we got to re-audit 2 years. So I spent the next 6 months making sure I wasn't going to get an audit firm that was also going to lose it, because it was during that time all these reverse mergers with Chinese companies were blowing up. So any audit firm that was dealing in Chinese reverse mergers would get thrown out. I went with a company called Cutler and Company out of Colorado. David Cutler sat on the board of the PPCOB for Colorado, so I was thinking I was safe. 7 months into a re-audit in that case, they lost their certification. So it took me 4.5 years to re-audit 2 years of numbers where there was no changes in numbers whatsoever. So we had a big skull and crossbone. Valuation came down to like 6 million, 5 million, and everybody kept showing up at the door. Here's $10 million, all or none. And I said, you're ridiculous. I'm not going to sell you 60% of the company or whatever, 40% for 10 million. So I funded it myself with a couple of shareholders. We did it at market rate, so we didn't dilute the shareholders. And if you can tell, I protected the cap table. And I never took a paycheck, I don't think, for 4.5 years. I just took it at stock value, whatever the market price every month, I would do the VWAP and take shares. So I've been taking shares, and so I'm totally aligned with the shareholders on creating valuation of the company.
So I just want to hold up there for 1 second, right? So, I mean, this is what you just shared to me is massive, right? I mean, this is, you protected the cap table, right? You funded the business for 4 years. You didn't take a paycheck. You were taking shares, and you were taking them at the VWAP, which is the volume weighted average price, so that you weren't, taking them below where you took it at where they were. The weighted average price was over X amount of time. That's where you took the share.
Pretty much every month I took the VWAP, when I got paid. And so, but I was also taking a much lower salary. I was taking the equivalent of $5,000 a month. I wasn't taking, 150, 200. And so I think in one of the, in 2020, the proxy statement said I took 7,500 actual cash, and I can't remember what that check was for. There must have been some reason I took a check. He said, show my compensation. I took a check for 7,500. I kept thinking to myself, I don't remember that check.
All right, so then let's talk about this. So you get through that. 2020, COVID hits.
Correct. So late 2020, as we made the progression, we built a production facility through our funding. We did the production facility extremely scalable because we had great successes with our product, but we were hand filling those. And we told all the vets, don't talk about it, because the worst thing you can have is a bunch of vets calling for product and you don't have product to ship them, because you'll lose them for life. It's hard to regain that. So all these vets didn't understand, what we're doing is dramatic. How come you're not letting us talk? I said, because I can't deliver whatever comes in. So we built this facility. The facility allows us to produce 500,000 syringes a year, which for us, top line revenue would be about 125 million. The facility is extremely scalable. We can double that capacity for $200,000 in 120 days to add additional equipment and expand a little, and a few more production people. But
this is here in the United States.
In Edina, Minnesota. Yeah, right here in Minnesota. So we also got it certified through the FDA as an ISO 578. That's a very high human level of certification for medical devices. It wasn't required at all, any type of that certification.
Because this is for pets, but you're going with the human qualification.
Absolutely, absolutely, and very high human qualification. So because of that scalability, and then we got that established. So the next step was to get the financing in that will allow us to hire sales and marketing and the team to be able to do the large scale production. So in August of 2021, we uplisted to NASDAQ. We went out for a $10 million raise, and we had 54 million on the book wanting to come in. And obviously bankers want you to take more money. So they were saying, take 30. And I said, I don't want to take it at these levels. Obviously, I feel the company is way undervalued. I said, I don't have the risk that other companies have at my stage. I don't have regulatory risk, which is you never say zero, but it's pretty greatly reduced when you have a letter from the FDA designating you as a device. Okay. So that's the biggest risk in most medical technology companies, is regulatory. Second is your ability to scale production and increase gross profit margin. We definitely can do that, because if you look at the team we hired, they have tremendous experience in dealing with these biomaterials and doing commercial production for companies like Medtronic, Sandoz, Pharmaceutical, and stuff like that. So they got tremendous history. So we pulled 5 of those guys over. So they're proven to us, not only can they scale, but they've added a lot of efficiency and cost advantages that we didn't have before. So the next step was to build sales and marketing. So with the raise of that capital, I only took in 11.5 million, I believe. So with the raise of that capital, I started to build sales and marketing. Our marketing director has 30-some years experience in the veterinary animal health space. He was a senior guy at Zoetis, senior guy at Birmingham Ingerheim, the #1 and 2 companies in the world in veterinary products. Then my national sales director, Mark Middleton, he took a company called Animal Health International to like 800 million a year in revenues, ran 300 salespeople within the organization. And then if you look at the public filings or news releases of new hires, we hired 3 new regional sales reps. But if you look at their background, 25, 30 years with major veterinary companies like Covetrus, Rachel with Covetrus, and so on. So yeah, you got pictures of those people, but I don't think we put the salespeople in there. But they're on our website, as well as the news releases. You can see they manage hundreds of salespeople, so they're very seasoned from that standpoint.
Right, you are bringing in a world-class team, right?
I'm like Tampa Bay. We just signed Tom Brady and Mark. To give you an example.
Right. I mean, and then I'm going to go back to again. So let me ask you, John, being that you were really good at identifying companies that and being early, what was one of the most important things to you in terms of evaluating a company? Was it the product, the service, or was it the team, the leadership, What was
So
a really big,
leadership will make a mediocre company good, okay? And if you have superior product and you bring in the right team, that's what takes it to a different level. And, you know, we have established that. And if you look at our guys, they have all been with companies that they've taken north of $1 billion. Bob Folks, he was Chief Operating Officer, CFO of Taxel Medical, human device, took it where market cap hit, I think, close to $2 billion. He beat 11 straight quarters of Wall Street estimates. Randy Meyer, he was the CEO of Taxel Medical. It was a Piper Sandler deal that they took public, and it did extremely well. John Dolan, he's the one that got me involved because he was the partner at Fredericks and Byron. He was involved in mergers and acquisitions for Medtronic. Anytime they acquired a company, he made sure the patents and everything transferred properly and licensed. And he wrote the first drug-eluting stents for Johnson & Johnson. Somonix got bought out by Johnson & Johnson. And his prior life, he was a USPTO patent litigator for 6 years in biomaterials. So we have a very good understanding of how to protect our patents, how to keep our patents open, how to keep adding to them. So we're very strong in that area. And then our outside counsels in the patents are very great reputation, very good at action. And then Mark Middleton, 30 some years. And one day maybe we'll have him on to explain after 100 days of due diligence why he joined this company, because he said this product is a tremendous product that he has never seen in his career.
right? So I mean, to draw this kind of talent, right?
Yep.
These aren't rookies. These are guys.
No.
They ain't coming unless they think this is the real deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And if you look at our board of directors, they're like a Fortune 500 board, And then Russ, he was marketing for many years at Zoetis and BI, the number 1 and 2 players. Yep. And, so we hired technical vets to support the sales. So Ann is our small animal technical vet. She Madison graduate, veterinary school. I think at one time, she sits on several boards of different veterinary organizations. She's also a veterinary surgeon, so she's able to give insight. And that's the big thing is these support vets help the salespeople. Dr. Joe Manning, many years, Merck Animal Health. He's helped multiple companies launch their products, being able to give the technical explanations to the vets. Yeah, Josh is our production guy. He's brilliant at really scaling production. Many years, he set up a lot of the clean rooms to meet FDA requirements for testing at the University of Minnesota and stuff like that. So he was instrumental in actually consulting to build the clean room first. And then, Greg Cash, our chairman, he basically ran the CRM division in Asia for Medtronic, many years at Medtronic in sales and marketing. So we have very, very seasoned. Jim Barton. He didn't want his picture, but he was the KPMG partner, and he was the partner in charge of the tax division, but he's also a CPA, so he's a JD and a CPA. But been through a lot of businesses and understands a lot of the business. So we built a really, really good team. Robert Rodelius, he was president Control Data, president of AT&T Information Systems. He was also a senior partner at McKinsey Group in Asia. And I can't go into detail, but at one time he was in Washington, D.C. dealing with communications in foreign governments. Maybe that's why we don't have a picture of them.
So I it's really important for me because I say it all the time that you can have a good service, you can have a good product. If you do not have a good leadership team, I think the odds are stacked against you, right? That's
absolutely. I think we built one of the best, and definitely within the small microcap sector, I think we do have the best.
And I think that is really, really important to highlight because, so let's talk about the fact that you did all this stuff. You put the sales team together. You got the manufacturing facility in place. Everything is rolling. And then what happens? COVID, right?
Yeah, COVID happened, and so we had a study going with Dr. Felix Dewar at Colorado State University. The study was not for regulatory. It was just to establish some marketing material, efficacy marketing material for our sales reps, because since all of our data comes from the human side, it's a major hurdle in trying to go into the big corporate accounts, like a BCA Mars. They own the most veterinary clinics in North America. Well, the vets like the product, but it has to go through legal and also formulary. It has to be approved at corporate before they can order it. They go, well, where's your animal study? And we go, well, the human study is a lot more stringent and it gives a lot more detail. Nope, we need.
They still wanted the animal.
Yep. So because of COVID, it's delayed us probably 10 months or more. But, it also triggered the fact that we were able to get a lot of data unmasked to us that normally could not. So what we were doing was dogs that had elbow osteoarthritis, both elbows. Those are hard to find, but we got enough numbers where the statistician said this is significant. We injected one side with Spryng, the other side with the standard steroid. Obviously, the researcher has no idea which is which, but it was very clear after 30 days which was which. But because people couldn't bring their dogs in for all that time, when they came back, you could see the difference. And the people were saying, can we get what was injected on one side to the other side? And so out of compassionate use, numbers of those dogs were given Spryng into the other joint that had.
All right. So before we go into, I want to play this. It's not a very long video. I really want to because I thought this just really encompassed what the product does extremely well. So I'm going to go back here and start this over.
Lameness issues, joint pain, and osteoarthritis can be difficult to treat and debilitating for an animal's health and well-being. Take control of lameness issues and joint pain. Introducing Spryng with OsteoCushion technology, a new intra-articular injectable veterinary medical device that goes beyond symptom management in horses and small animals to address the root cause of lameness issues and joint pain. When injected into a joint, Spryng's naturally derived protein and carbohydrate components form a sterile, sponge-like, and shock-absorbing matrix that works with synovial fluid to mimic the protective form and function of healthy joint cartilage. Spryng provides a scaffold that can protect the joint from further injury, unlike other conventional treatments that may only mask symptoms. Spryng has provided potential long-term relief with just one injection. It has a demonstrated safety profile in animals with a track record of more than 5 years real-world experience in various joint types for horses and dogs. With just one injection, Spryng with OsteoCushion technology targets the root cause of lameness issues, joint pain, and osteoarthritis, helping animals do what they do best.
So listen, I love that. I love that because I love animals and I just think this is so awesome, right? I think some of the things that really highlight, and you've already said it a couple of times, this is an all natural product. This is not some synthetic, bunch of drugs or foreign compounds that were put together to try and make this thing. This is natural stuff.
Yeah, so, the major advantage we feel we have over the competitors' products and so on is that we're addressing the root cause of the problem of osteoarthritis, and that's the wearing away of cartilage. So when we inject our particles and it starts to form a scaffolding, and that scaffolding basically fills in the area where cartilage used to be, and it ends up augmenting and protecting the existing cartilage, and it functions just like cartilage. And so these particles, think about them as a bunch of wet sponges we just injected into the joint. So when you run or jump, it's actually absorbing the shock, but because it's wet and lubricious, it's actually moving fluids within the joint to keep the joint lubricated. So that actually cools down the joint and also helps prevent the inflammation and stuff that causes the pain. So, it's naturally derived, like we said. It's made right here in Edina, Minnesota, and our sourcing of every particle and ingredient is pretty much all within the United States. So we don't have a supply chain issue. We don't have to worry about shortages in Europe or Asia or anything like that. And the three base proteins are collagen, elastin, and carbohydrate is the heparin. Those three put together in that matrix. And it's actually, that's kind of like the building block of articulating cartilage tissue. So that's why it's all natural. And that's why we don't have any problems in racehorses using it, because it's helped. We have multiple cases. In fact, the majority of our usage right now, or the purchases of the product, has been in the performance horse industry, because vets there are able to see the results right away. So their adoption rate is much faster than a small animal vet. A small animal vet does an injection. They may not see the dog for 6 months or a year. And then when it comes back, it kind of says, wow, this is still working, when all the other products out there are masking the symptoms. And they usually last, a couple of weeks to all the way up to 60 days, So we have a tremendous advantage there from the standpoint we don't have side effects either. So go ahead.
Let me ask you a question here. I mean, so you don't necessarily have to wait to see signs of your aging dog to get this injection for them early.
Yeah, so it's probably a really good prophylactic. We haven't done a study on that, but if you have a type of dog that's have a predisposition to hip dysplasia, like labs, and you can inject early on to hopefully.
I mean, not when they're a pup, right? I mean, I'm saying when they get to like,
5
years old, right? That I mean, it's going to be coming. It's coming, right? So why not just do the injection then, and then try to kind of stem having your animal go through any kind of discomfort?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the categories I've always argued about, and not argued, but told the analysts, is that, okay, you have stem cell treatments, then it's joint replacement, okay? I believe we're created a new category that should exist within there, is joint life extension. So the vet says, we got to do surgery. Well, try our Spryng product. Let's say we extend the joint life 3-4 years. You're probably, it's beyond the life expectancy of the animal. They didn't have to suffer going through the rehab of a joint replacement. And when you do a joint replacement, it literally.
You don't have to put them under.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, you do.
Older dogs, you put them under, there's the risk that they don't come back out.
Yeah.
Right?
And with ours, you can do a local anesthesia and so on. So yeah, it all depends on how hyper the dog is, because horses, they have no problems only using a simple local and putting the needle in. But with dogs, sometimes they get crazy when they see a needle coming at them.
Oh, yeah.
So it just depends on the dog a lot. So, but we're getting great results. And even when you do have surgery, we have had some orthopedic vets inject into the joint they did the surgery, but also inject the bilateral joint, because they say 80% of bilateral joints will fail within the next 18 months just because the added load of the surgery. So what we're finding out is when the joint that's had the surgery been injected, the rehab time is cut down dramatically. So because in theory, think about it, you just stabilize an area you cut. You're stabilizing the joint so the dog can rehab much quicker.
Right. No, man, it totally makes sense. So horses, I think, is really interesting too, because that could be an expense. I mean, they're big animals. They're really big animals, right? So and I don't know what therapies they have out there for them now, but I would imagine that whatever it is, it's probably requires a lot of it, right?
Yeah. So in the horse racing industry, we have a lot of data because they've been using our product. What we're finding out is generally when a racehorse runs, it's 3 weeks before they can start training for the next race. When they've been injected with Spryng, it's typically about 3 days. Now, the other things they haven't had to use is tapping the joints to drain fluid. In a racing season, horses get tapped probably 7 times during the year, where fluid buildup is bad in a joint that has had previous injury. Well, we found after Spryng's been injected in that joint for the whole race season, they didn't have to tap the joint. So there's major cost savings and pain savings. But the biggest thing for the trainers is telling me is they can tell the horse is comfortable, especially after a race and the rehab time. So that means they actually get to run in more races, meaning more revenue. So their cost savings is tremendous from the fact they don't have to tap the joints, but they don't have to use as many other products. And today's regulations are extremely tough now about testing for the blood and urine for foreign substance. That's what got the hood in trouble at the Derby.
Any performance enhancing drugs, right?
Correct, correct.
Right.
Yep, and ours is clearly a medical device.
It's a medical device and it's natural. It's all natural.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
correct,
nothing.
correct. So when they test it, nothing shows up.
Right.
It doesn't alter any chemistry. And
there was a story that you, and I don't remember, I can't remember exactly what it was, but you had told me about some doctor or surgeon that injected their own animal, right?
Correct.
What was
he was a orthopedic surgeon for small animals at Stanford University. So well established. He tried everything outside of surgery because he thought the surgery was too complex for his own dog and it was a birth defect issue. So he contacted us and said, I read about this. I don't believe in this. This is my field, but I figure I would like to try it as a last ditch effort. Injected his dog, and the dog's on 6 years on the injection, single injection, and the dog's running 5 miles a day when it didn't have usage of its leg. And it's having full usage now. And he wrote a really glowing letter saying, this is the most incredible thing. I didn't believe in it, but I've seen it for myself. So it was very nice. And a while ago, we had that story up on the website, but we put up a lot more recent cases now since then. And another one is, and these are birth defect issues, joint problems. We don't just treat OA. Any articulating joint, if there's an issue, we feel we can provide benefit. Is a dog named Hope, 9-month-old golden doodle. And it happens to be an owner of a fund manager. And he contacted me and said, I looked at your story, when my daughter picked out this puppy and it developed a rear left hind leg, the hip is bad and doesn't have usage of that rear leg or minimal usage. And the surgeon saying, when it hits one, we got to do surgery. I said, well, try our product. We sent the vet Spryng. They did the injection. It's going on 8 years without a single secondary injection, and the joint is operating like there's never been an issue. And he keeps sending me videos of Hope just running and jumping into the golf cart and swimming pool and everything.
And look, it's those things right there that I mean, nobody can take this away from me, right? I mean, this is the way it is.
Yep.
Yes, you're going through the animal, the animal trials now just so that you can validate it, but you've been validated.
Studies. Yeah,
right?
It's for marketing issues. We're close to 1,000 animals we've injected, and it's success stories across the board. We have been able to improve every animal except one. And the one I said, there is no way we can help this dog because both front legs haven't been moving for 3 years. And it was all calcified. We couldn't even get the needle in hardly. So that was the only case we could not help because there's a certain point where you just cannot help. But if there's an opening where you can inject in the particles will help lubricate the joint and provide relief no matter what.
Right. So for me, huge thing, quality of life, right? I mean, I want my dog to have a good quality of life. I don't want them to be in any discomfort or pain at all. I mean, that's, I had to put my boy down because, I wasn't going to let him suffer, not even for 1 minute, right? I was just not going to let that happen. So that's why this is such I love to
What's-
find things that are meaningful to me. Yes, I think this is an incredible investment opportunity, right? Because of the product, because of the leadership team, right?
And we're aligned with the shareholders because,
And you're
we
aligned with the
took a lot of
shareholders.
shares, so, instead of cash.
And you're a pretty smart guy. You're
Well, thank you.
yeah, you got a pretty smart team.
Yeah.
I mean, you brought some heavy hitters. Let's just talk about the capital structure really quickly. So how many shares do you have outstanding, fully diluted?
Okay, so we have 9.9 million shares outstanding. We have about 3 million warrants. So, and they're above the market because it was part of the capital raise. 2.5 of it, those warrants are publicly traded. You just add the W at the end of our symbol, PETVW. Those have 4 years left on them approximately. The strike price is 5 5/8.
Five
The old
and
school.
what?
5 5/8, old school. So let's say 562 or 63. And so they're trading probably around 28 cents. Our common stocks at probably $1.30, right in that range. So you can look at the valuation as 13 million, and then I go out in the marketplace, and even with the cratering of the XBI or the small cap biotech index or small cap medical index, we're still at such a big discount to other companies out there that I feel are not where we're at from the standpoint, because we're basically now a sales and marketing, and it's just a matter of time. And with the support of the study, that will allow us to really capture the big corporate accounts.
So speaking of that, so right now you're going through the testing. That's opened back up for you because COVID is kind of taking a back
Colorado
seat, right?
State, and then we publicly announced that we got Ethos, which is a very well-regarded private group. They're able to do a study quicker, and I think we got 2 other ones going. I can't remember exactly because we leave that to our veterinary support team.
And what's the anticipated timeline on those to be?
I think the first one that will, besides the Oklahoma equine one that we have on their clinical, that's completed. So we should, by, I would say, fourth quarter this year, have the Ethos study completed, and that's for small animals. So I think that will allow us to help us get into a lot of the small animal clinics.
So will these studies will they be like published? There'll be a white paper on.
Yeah, eventually they get published, but I think the Ethos study, that one will get, I think it's white papered, and then they later on go publishing it. I'm not sure exactly how the process works within the animal, but we do have experts in that area working with us to make sure everything is done properly, and it's third party and it's independent. And like I said, for most of the veterinary groups or the distribution groups we're talking for, it's just checking the box. They really, I mean, it's going to show it works, but they're more concerned about checking the box before they sign the product on.
Okay. So production, the facility, to be clear, is up, good to go.
Fully functional, producing. We have our team in place, and we're actually finding out we're getting better yield and better margins.
That doesn't suck.
No.
All right. Okay, so timeline, I mean, and I'm just going to throw maybe, I mean, look, I don't know what's going to happen with COVID. I really don't. Do I think it's dead? I don't think it's dead. I think we're going to get probably another variant. How severe that is come in the winter time, I have no idea. I just don't think it's going to go away. And I don't know what you think, but
no, that's correct. The evolution of viruses is that it gets more and more infectious, but less and less damaging to the individuals. So you may see this virus. So right now we're on Omicron BA2 or whatever, something like that. We'll get another version in the winter. And viruses historically in the winter will spike, just like the flu and everything else. So you're going to have a spike, but the cases will go up, but the results or the damage to the human will be probably less than the flu. So which is 0.35 of mortality rate. So it'll probably be under that.
Right. And that's I mean, I didn't know all that, but that's kind of what I was thinking is that, you know, we'll get some kind of variant, but it seemed to me as though, you know, we're not having as many deaths. We're not having as many people going on ventilators and all that stuff. So I'm thinking, okay, we get more people that have it, but we got less severe.
Well, our immune system's been exposed to it. So it's no longer novel, because the fear when it first came out is we had no defenses in our body.
Right.
Now we have exposure. And when you have exposure, the T cells and so on are there to help protect you. So the incidence of having a bad outcome gets greatly reduced. And also, like I said, the virus wants to survive, so they make themselves more mild, because if they killed everybody off, the virus would die.
All right. So that's a good way of putting it. I would have never thought about that way, but it makes sense. So how are you sitting on cash right now?
So, you know, from day one, we have the analysts gave a forecast from Think Equity, and we're pretty much on that forecast, because I find in early stage companies, management should not be making forecasts because the variance is so high from quarter to quarter. The key metrics people should be looking at is, are you acquiring veterinary doctors, and what are the repeat order rates? And, you know, with us, once they try the product, it's pretty close to 100% adoption, because the vets see the improvement right away, and the consumer, because this product works pretty much right away. It's, you know, so we satisfy our need as a society for instant gratification. We do the injection literally within 48 hours. Your dog's going to have a tangible mobility improvement.
Right.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, I'm just thinking as a dog owner, I mean, that's going to be like one of the happiest moments of your life, right? I mean, when you see
we get videos. Yeah, we get videos, and it makes you feel so good. Like, I got a video of a horse that used a very good racehorse. They won some major races, but 5 years ago, the lameness came through, where the horse could barely put any pressure on the leg, but the owner would not put it down or anything. Nobody could ride it. We did the injection, and our vet told their vet, we don't think this is going to help. The joint is pretty far gone, because they showed us the mobility flex. It wasn't there. And by a miracle, the product worked, and it's been in the horse 90 days. The daughter is riding the horse now, and nobody's been able to even put any pressure on the horse for 5 years. And the owner said the horse is running like it never had an issue. So we'll get that testimonial up on the website here. It just takes time, because you got to get sign-offs. You got to have the vet describe the case. That's the hardest part, because veterinary doctors, because of COVID, a lot of the elective surgeries and procedures were put off. Now they're trying to catch up, and there isn't enough people. And the vet called me at 10 on Sunday night, goes, John, I just got home. Okay. I can't go there. I said, I understand, you know, tell your assistant or somebody in your spare time, write down exactly what you did. You know? So it's stuff like that, you know.
All right, John, I want to bring up the chart real quick. And I mean, it's not going to be a great thing to see, but you know what, that you can say that about 90% of the market right now, right?
Well, especially
the small cap, micro cap, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, for the last 14 months or so, small caps, micro caps have been getting pounded, right? I mean, there was a lot of underlying weakness in the markets. The only thing that was keeping the markets up was the Microsofts, the Nvidias, the Teslas, Amazons, right? All those guys, that's what was those were the 10 pillars, right?
Well, 7 companies represented 20% of the S&P 500. So yeah, they held it up.
Right. When they sneeze, the whole market gets cold, right? So
Correct.
But they were keeping the markets up, new highs we were seeing, but underlying, there was a lot of weakness. And I mean, look, this is, so we'll go back to the conversation that you brought up. You got this huge valuation when you first came out, right? Then you had the audit thing. So, I mean, it's, went to 500. I mean, you wound up having, was the 1 for 500, was that after the collapse?
No. Well, no. So what happened is when we merged in, that would probably have been 2014.
Okay.
So when we merged in, I did a big reverse. And that reverse brought us back down, but it still went to that valuation, because we were trading at like 10 cents a share, that.
Right.
Trade hundreds of millions of shares and you go, wow. but then we, reversed it back once we got in control so we can issue more shares to raise capital because we were at the cap max. So when we went on NASDAQ in August of 2021, I did a 1 for 4.
1 for 4. Okay, I got it.
But if you look at the chart, 2 years, running 2 years prior, the stock was trading around 30 cents before the 1 for 4. So if you count it back, so you got a large support right here where the stock is right now. So technically, this is a major support zone. And, historically, when you had a 2-year support zone, you can buy on those levels and have some safety.
So what's really awesome about this is normally I'm telling the CEO, whoever I'm interviewing, what their chart is saying, right?
Yeah.
And that this is a support area. You're sitting here saying, and that I love that. But John, no CEO should ever be running their company off of what the chart says.
Absolutely. And that's why, people say, well, why aren't you paying for promotion? I said, hey, my focus and my resources on sales and marketing of the product. The stock actually eventually will take care of itself when you're delivering results way beyond what people expect.
That is, and I say the same thing, look, I mean, especially recently, I've met with some CEOs and I mean, and some of them look like they haven't slept in months and, dark circles under the eyes. They look like they've just gotten their asses kicked. Right.
Yeah.
And they're stressed. I could see they're stressed because they're getting calls from the retail investors that are saying exactly what you just said. Do a promote, just put some news out. Put a fluff piece out, please, to stop the bleeding. Well, that's stupid, right?
Yep.
Then you become that company that is a fluff pump and dump.
Correct.
Right? You don't want to do that.
One fund manager said to me recently, he goes, I'm investing in your company. I go, why? He goes, well, I can tell you're very comfortable where the business is because it goes, every CEO I talk to is so stressed out. You're juvenile, you're jovial, you're just you're enjoying what's happening at the company. I said, absolutely. And he goes, I'm going to become a buyer of your shares. And I started seeing him pick up some shares, and that was probably 40 cents ago, but still he believes in the longer term picture.
and that is, I mean, look, and I don't blame any of the companies because some of these guys, they don't have capital market experience. They don't understand the game. They don't understand what's happening to their stock because they're executing, right? They haven't screwed up their cap structure. Yep. They're executing, they're growing their business through a pandemic.
Yep.
And they're like, I don't understand. My stock's getting killed.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with the company.
Yep.
It's the market, right?
Yep.
It's the sector. And there's nothing you can do to change it except execute. Continue to execute, right?
Correct. Yep.
And eventually this too shall pass.
Yep.
And it will get reflected in the price of the stock.
Correct.
I don't know when. I can't tell you a specific day, but at some point, if you continue to do good by the company, continue to grow market share, don't do anything stupid with your cap table, it will all eventually come out and reflect in the share price.
Correct. And with us is that, it's actually a fun time for us because we're out there calling on veterinary clinics. We're doing presentations to vet associations that have a large group of vets. my sales director goes, there's only one of me. They're calling me to go to California. They're calling me to go to Utah. I got to prioritize, and I said, I understand. I said, I got all these requests, from this pain management association, from this equestrian association, the Western Saddle Riders Club. We did one here in Minnesota where there was, trainers, like 100 trainers, so we got great responses. We end up getting orders from those, and we got very good analytics that we're able to track, exactly what's successful, what's not. So we become better usage of our resources and capital in various marketing activities and so on to the industry, because a lot of this is first time you're introducing a disruptive product that goes contrary to everything that a veterinary doctor learned in vet school. So when they do a diagnosis of osteoarthritis, it's a lifetime of multimodal approach of pain management. They're giving certain NSAIDs, they're rotating the NSAIDs, they're coming with stem cells and everything. We're telling them, do the single injection, wait until next year for the checkup, and then make a call if you want to x-ray or if you see diminishing, maybe you need to do a second injection. Now, in the 1,000 animals, we only had one dog that needed a second injection. And we think it was a veterinary error. When he did the injection, it was in a pretty big joint and he hardly put any particles in it. We said, wow, that's really unusual, given your x-ray showed that there was a lot of cartilage gone and they only inject that little. And then the next year they did the additional injection and the dog's been fine for 3 years. So yeah, we feel good about it, but it is education, because you're disrupting a thought process of common practice.
Did COVID kind of help you there in a way, because now you can do virtual?
Yeah, no, it helped from an industry standpoint, okay? Because dog or pet ownership probably went from 68% to over 70%. Also, which kind of surprised me, is the weight gain by dogs and pets. Just like the humans.
Oh.
I thought they would go outside and exercise more, but they sat there and watched TV. Their dog actually sat with the owner and just watched TV and didn't.
Right, they were binge watching TV or Netflix, right?
And when they put on weight, it causes joint issues.
No, that's right. Okay. But I'm talking about in terms of having these meetings with veterinarians or being.
They want to see the demonstration.
They still want to
ask the vet specifically, if I have this joint in this situation, and our vet would say, well, this is how you would do the injection. And it's an intra-articular injection. Vets learn it at vet school, but when they come out, they don't use it unless you're a specialist, like an orthopedic surgeon, so on. So we will put together a whole series of training videos exclusively with Spryng. So the vets can look at it, because it's going to be an added revenue source for them, but also it's going to be the ability to improve the quality of life of the dogs and the owners, because the owners are going to have more time enjoying running with their dog when they couldn't before, And so we feel this is helping both humans.
What kind of shelf life does the product have?
So we did the stability study on the human side using the same particles, and that was 3 year shelf life.
How many?
3 years.
3 year shelf life.
Yeah. But I think we may just be labeling it for 2 years, even though the study that we did for the FDA was 3 years. And if that's at room temperature. So if you probably put it in the fridge, you would get longer shelf life. But no, nobody goes that long, because we ship pretty fast from our facility. We're right in Minnesota. So and anywhere within the United States, just using first class mail is 3 to 4 days. And if they want it faster, we use priority. It's there within 2. And if they want it overnight, we can overnight it for them. They just have to pay the overnight.
What kind of margins are we looking at, John?
Well, I can't really say, but
I mean, I know, I get it.
Yeah, I think in the forecast, you would kind of be able to calculate north of 70%.
Okay, north of 70%.
Yeah.
That's
gross profit.
Do you feel as though, John, you've kind of, I mean, you've been through the ringer a bit here, right?
I've been beaten in the head twice with a fastball, and I'm still up swinging. Those audits were beating in the head. Okay, nobody can anticipate that.
You feel like you're kind of coming out on the other side.
Absolutely. That's why you can see I'm not stressed at all with this market, because like I said, all my friends and stuff that are CEOs running companies, they're stressed out like crazy. And I'm saying, we're executing. I mean, obviously I want my stock to go up, but I know eventually it will. And is it 60 days from now, 90 days, 100? It very well could be. It could not. But I feel good with everything that's happening, that we will have good catalysts.
One thing I could say probably with conviction is you're not going bankrupt. Are there going to be companies that disappear in this? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And they deserve to.
Yeah.
I mean, they deserve to. I mean,
Yep.
you know, there are bad companies out there that, you know, what was it that Warren Buffett said, you know, rising tide, you know,
Floats all boats.
right, that floats all boats. But then when the tide comes in, you see who's not wearing any clothes, right?
Correct.
I mean, there are companies that shouldn't be trading, and I'm talking big cap, small cap, mid cap.
Sure.
It's in every sector. Don't think this is just a micro cap, small cap thing, because it's not.
Yep.
It is every single sector, right?
Yep.
A high dollar price does not mean it's a good company.
Correct. And we saw that during the internet bubble. You know, that was very clear. You had companies trading at 25 billion market cap, and the whole industry was $500 million. I said, you got to operate at 40 years of the type of earnings you project just to justify the price today. Okay. I was looking at all these internets going crazy, going, this is ridiculous. And we shook it up. And then the good companies stuck around that did extremely well, like Amazon, Google, and so on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, so here's the thing. I mean, .com was horrible when that bubble burst, man. That was a painful thing. But if you didn't know, when a company would come out, it was on the exchange for, you know, years and years and years, and it never did shit. And then you put .com on the end of it,
took off.
and it just went through the roof. You're like,
more recently we saw that with COVID. Companies that had nothing to do with COVID says, oh, we're developing a COVID vaccine. I look and go, what expertise do these people have? I have way more expertise than they do. And the stock went from $1.50 to 15, you know. So we're gone through that bubble right now, and we're cleansing. This is part of cleansing the system.
It's a cleansing, and there will be good companies that rise from this. And I believe that it's companies. You know, this is a company to me that is a feel-good story. If you're an animal lover, I mean, if you're an animal lover, you're watching this and going, you know, to your buddy right next to you, hey, we're going to be checking this out, right? In a couple of years, we're going to go check this out for you, right? I mean, this is a feel-good story. It's it's obviously you've got your manufacturing. You've been through the hard steps. Now it really comes down to selling, right?
It's all blocking and tackling, and we have guys that are all stars in the blocking and tackling side.
Right.
They got a proven track record for billion-dollar companies, you know, multiple billion. And we'll continue to add those kind of people on the sales side.
I'm gonna lay this out there. I'm gonna say, look, here's the deal. I'm not telling anybody to buy the stock. That is not what I do. I am not a financial advisor. All I am doing, and maybe people will start to recognize this, I interview companies that I think have very compelling stories, that are in good position, haven't ruined their cap table. In this particular instance, not only hasn't ruined it, but definitely understands the entire capital market system, which should be a more comforting factor. Does that mean that the stock can't break this area of support and go lower? No, it could, right? And the technical guys, if it does break a level, they're going to pile on. What does that mean to me? That means it's time to load up. That's for me, right? I'm not telling anybody else to do that. You got to do your own due diligence and figure that out for yourself. But this is an area that would I dip my toe here? Absolutely. That's me. You want to, if you don't want to dip your toe, fine. Put the stock on your radar is all I'm saying.
Yep. And also there's only 5.2 million in the float. out of the 9.9. So we have very loyal shareholders that have put their certificates in a safe deposit box, and management and insiders, directors own 36% of the company.
So here, right above my head is investor email alerts. You go and sign up. You can get things sent directly to you. So that way you don't have to, if the stock does pop, you don't have to go searching for the reason why. You'll have it directly sent to you, right? Spryng. There's other stuff, John, we've talked before. I know that there's a drug delivery thing that you guys got going on. We don't have the time. I mean, I could talk to you. I could talk to you for 3 hours, man. But we'll have to do that in a follow-up. And maybe, when you have something significant come out, we do a quick follow-up on.
Yep. And,
right.
Also, probably within 2 weeks, we're going to be launching PetVivoCares.org. It's a nonprofit. We're going to be donating syringes to worthwhile nonprofit organizations, like Serve for Service dogs, military dogs, and police dogs, horses, and so on, and other types of rescue. So we're just going to donate syringes to help these organizations, because biggest problems of rescues and humane societies say why dogs don't get adopted is lameness. So if we can help that and get the dog, and also one of the conditions is they put their feel-good stories up on their website to help spread the word.
See, I like the way you think, John. I personally think that, let's see, in 21, let's see, well, that was the 1 for 4. So really, since you guys did the 1 for 4 and you got up to the NASDAQ, it's been in a downtrend since, right?
Correct. Well, we came out August of 2021. That was the worst month for medical biotech small cap companies to raise capital. It was a negative number that month because it had been steady, like you said. We saw it in this small cap over the counter market that it was in a major correction or a downtrend. And if you look at it, 70% probably of all small cap NASDAQ is under 50% from its highs right now. So
right.
We saw that trend way earlier than anyone else if you track that.
So
SPI is widest spread between the S&P 500 and the SPI since COVID.
So this is a key area. This 130, 130, $1, round numbers. Round numbers always big psychological thing, right?
Yep.
Look, if this thing pops, breaks below $1, there's going to be a lot of people that don't have conviction and don't understand and think, they know nothing about the company. This company is at a turning point right now. And, a white paper, a major partnership for distribution could happen. Who knows when, right? I mean, you want to try and short a stock from $1 to 0, knock yourself out.
Well, especially when you look at a product pipeline or patents, I have seen companies with a lot less be valued at $300-400 million.
If this thing hits, I don't know what news release it will be, but there will be this news release that sends this thing, and you're going to have guys that don't know what the hell they're doing trying to short it, and they're going to get their faces ripped off. I mean, that's how I see it, right? At some point, that is going to happen. Tiny float. If it goes down to under $1, that is not something I'm backing up the truck. I mean, I want to be as clear as I can be about this thing. Does that mean that it's going to go right back up? No, but I have conviction that I can sit in this thing, whether it takes 6 months or a year. I am comfortable that I'm going to get paid, and that's the whole difference when you're studying a company. Is the amount of conviction that you have in the leadership, the product, the whole thing. And this story is it for me. So put it on your radar is all I'm saying. And if you have any questions, I'm sure John, either your IR department or even you, I mean, I reached out to you and it was like,
we don't have an IR department. We don't spend money on IR. I said, I'm spending that money on marketing the product.
All right, John, listen, we'll definitely do this. We'll have you back. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you, Tim.
All right, hold on a second. Hey there, all you stock market junkies. Thanks for tuning in to yet another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Trading. Today we had PetVivo ticker symbol PETV. CEO John Lai. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like. Why not give us a share? And while you're at it, how about giving us a follow? Till next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.